The Beach FM Business Lunch Show, brought to you by PlaceMakers Kapiti Horowhenua. Together we're building New Zealand.
Welcome back to the Business Lunch Show on Beach FM 106.3. Let's talk to Duncan's Brewing now. It's George Duncan. G'day, George.
Hey, mate.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah, super busy, but good.
I bet you are, mate. I bet you are. Well, before we get into the nitty-gritty about what's happening for you guys at the moment, what we like to do, mate, is just get a bit of history of who we're talking to, where they come from, and how they got there, really. So in your own words, how did Duncan's Brewery Company come to be?
So, do you want the long story or the short story?
Mate, hit us with the long.
Okay, so kind of a bit of a roundabout sort of way. Probably about 10 years ago, I was at university studying music, and I took a summer paper in chemistry to try and make up some credits. It was a terrible idea because it was bloody hard yakka. And the guys, I got a friend of mine who was like a biochem to help sort of tutor me through it, and I didn't realize at the time that he homebrewed, and I'd go around there and do my tutoring, and then he would sort of teach me about homebrewing, and that was kind of like the spark of really getting into beer. And I was like, this is amazing, like you can make beer that tastes like commercial beer like this. And then sort of jumped, so I homebrewed for years through uni, and it was heaps of fun. And then me and my wife, we went on a big road trip around the state. About 22,000 kilometres, and we drank tons of beer, and we sort of just like wanted something different when we came back to New Zealand. So while we were up in Alaska, we were hanging out in Homer. There's like a little brewery up there, and we're like, this is cool. Maybe there's something we could do. Come back to New Zealand. I started up Duncan's Brewing just as like a hobby business, doing a bit of beer on the side, just for fun. I was a builder at the time,
Yeah.
And then about 3 years ago, the two guys came to like a beer talk I was doing at the local, the local community centre.
Yeah.
And they're like, we've got this warehouse space. Like, are you interested in putting a brewery in? And I was like, yeah, not really. You know, that's not really something I don't know. It was not something I really thought was overly possible. And then I went and had to talk to Carl Vesta, the old owner of one of the old owners of Tuatara, and he's like, yeah, man, like, I got some gear, like, we could make it happen. And I was like, okay. So that was kind of the beginning 3 years ago. Just jumped in, built the brewery, and just slowly built it up from there.
Amazing. Interesting that it started at uni as well. Who would have thought love of beer would have started at a chemistry tutorial at uni? Who would have thought? Hey, mate, that's awesome. So tell me, George, with those early years, 3 years ago, starting the brewery, starting your own business, what was it a business before then, before you had the actual, the brewery, the actual warehouse? Was it a sustaining business for you, or was it still a side project at that kind of time in your life?
Yeah, it was totally a side project. There was, I was never, I didn't really invest a lot of time or money into it. It was just more like dabbling in the industry. I didn't have a lot of direction at that point. I was just sort of, playing all around and selling a bit of beer here and there. It was just hobby, but,
not a bad hobby
now.
No, yeah, I bet. So, mate, when you did take the leap and you got that guidance from someone that's been there before, what were some of those early learnings for you that kind of like, oh wow, I'm a business owner now?
I suppose I built most of the brewery over 6 months.
Handy that you're a builder.
Yeah, I can do a few bits and pieces, but it was the point where, when I had my first, I think it would have been like 8 or 9 months of trading. I wasn't really pulling a salary. I was just it was still kind of hobby-ish, trying to get it off the ground. But when me and my wife's first child came along, I became the main earner. And at that point, all of a sudden, it was like, wow, we're like fully living off this business. And that would have been probably about 12 months after we started up.
Wow.
Pulling a proper salary, and that was a bit where we were like, all right, this is us, this is what we're doing.
Absolutely. Well, a child will definitely make you change your thinking, that's for sure. Hey, obviously what has started from here's a premises, here's the ideas, has grown into something of its own. So over the last 3 years, mate, how have you looked at your business and trying to build it as in keeping it sustaining? Obviously, that money coming in so you can pay the mortgage and the kid and everything. But like, how has it grown for you? Where do you see things and then work on it within your business?
So we started off. Like, I don't know. I'm assuming a lot of other breweries start off. You sort of have this thing where, like, you want to be accessible to the widest audience. You sort of start off doing more like, how should I put it, like traditional, more conservative sort of beer, and that was okay at the start. That kind of allowed me to learn the trade and get into it, but we very quickly realized that wasn't really the industry that we wanted to be in or could be in. So we started to venture out, making more interesting beers, experimenting with different flavors. We use a lot of fruit in our brewing, and we realized that that was how we were going to create a business that was more sustainable and not have to compete so heavily with the macro breweries.
Yes.
That was a change. So we've really evolved the brand from what it was to what it is now, is sort of day and night.
So what I'm hearing is that it was kind of you doing a bit like everybody else, but you wanted that point of difference. You wanted something that was yours and brew what you wanted to instead of what everyone else wanted.
Yeah. Okay. So sort of. So how do I explain it? We definitely follow trends in what we're doing, and I'm often looking overseas at what's happening over there. So we're trying to bring. We're still brewing to an audience, but that audience is also your everyday. We have your beers for your everyday drinker, but it's also like people who want something a bit special, something a bit different.
Awesome.
And it's not so much about because what I drink is often quite different to what the general public want to drink.
Right.
So it's more about researching, understanding the market, understanding what gets people into it, and there's sort of a real change for us there.
Excellent, man. What was the first one on the menu for Duncans?
The first beer or the first interesting beer?
Well, both. What was the first beer? What was the first interesting beer?
So the first beer we did was Duncan's Pale Ale, which is still one of our biggest sellers.
Yeah.
I mean, that beer is sort of the staple of the craft brewing industry is a good American pale ale.
Absolutely.
The first beer we did where we pushed it out of it was our Juniper IPA, which is probably our second biggest selling beer, which is like an American style IPA brewed with juniper berries.
Wow.
Gives it sort of a piney, gin, citrusy twist.
Yeah.
And then from there, we just kind of took that concept and just ran with it.
Awesome. Hey, I know you got the brewery, and I know you got a great website that's so easy to follow. But how did you start thinking marketing? Like, where did you have to start thinking? Where do we put our beer? Do we still have people come to us? Do we start putting it in supermarkets? How was the thinking? Yeah,
so from the brand's perspective, you can probably see. I don't know. I can't tell, but from initially we're using designer, simple design work. Then we brought on a mate of ours, Daniel Footherd, who does the current branding.
Yes, and
that was a big step for us in the brand marketing direction.
Right.
And then as for sales, the way we work is we run with a couple of really good distributors. So we've got a distributor in New Zealand and a distributor in Australia that have the flexibility to allow us to release new beers and get them on the market. So that's sort of the bulk of our business. And then we run a cellar door,
right?
Which has been, that started off really slow in the early days, but now it really hums along. We also ran pop-up bars in summer. So we opened the brewery up one Saturday every month over summer. And the other thing that's really been pushing since COVID is our online sales through our website.
Awesome.
That's just been going off.
Excellent, man. Oh, tell me, I was sorry to bring up the weird time in people's lives, but how was COVID for you, man? Like, was it a time did you get time to be with the family, refresh, reset like a lot of people did, or was it mad scientists in the brewery coming up with what's next for you?
Yeah, no, it was pretty crazy for us. I actually was at work more through COVID than I normally am. Because our online, we didn't even make any beer. I just spent every day just filling out online orders.
Wow.
Trying to keep that happening. We're doing anywhere from like 20, 30, maybe 40 orders a day.
Wow.
So it was good because the money that came from those online sales definitely like kept us going through that tough time. But I couldn't have done it for much longer than the 6 weeks of lockdown without employing more staff or having to rearrange how we do everything at the brewery.
Wow. Interesting time to rearrange things as well. Hey, let's one thing I do want to talk about, obviously, because it's one of the things that jumped out over the last week with you is one of 6 business owners that will become a household name with Visa's new digital campaign. How were you selected for that? Like, how did that come about?
Our name was put forward from, I think it was the guys at Wellington on a Plate,
right.
Through Beervana. Awesome. That's as far as I know at that end. And then there was just a process of sort of submit a video and just talk about our beers and our brand and what we do. And it was quite random. I got to admit, but we're really, really glad to be able to be a part of it.
Awesome, mate. And where to next for you, George? I mean, you're 3 years into it. What's on the horizon? I mean, is Lion Brewery's going to come and, make you an offer you can't refuse, or how do you see it going for you?
Yeah, I don't see them making milkshake IPAs and ice cream sours anytime soon. So, honestly, like, we're at a point where we probably need to expand a little bit. We're sort of aware about going too big. What makes our business work is that we're small and flexible, and we can move to trends in the market, and we can we can do stuff we can do things really fast and easily. Awesome. We're kind of liking where it is now. We would like to grow a little bit more, but we just kind of trying to put out the most fun, crazy beers we can. And, if that means more tanks, then that means more tanks.
Awesome, man. Well, I've really enjoyed your time, mate. But lastly, as we always ask, where can people find you? How can they get in touch?
So we've got our online store, which is at duncansbrewing.co.nz. If you're local, cellar door is open Thursday, Friday and Saturday afternoon, 12 till 6. That's a good way you can come by riggers and stuff. Or we sell through a lot of local supermarkets, sports squares, liquor stores, and also bars. But obviously, they're not doing a lot of business at the moment.
A little bit, yeah. Well, mate, thank you so much for your time, mate, and go well. I'll come and see you guys real soon.
Cool, thanks, man.